Search is dying and AI has already taken over. If your brand isn't showing up inside answer engines like ChatGPT, you're already invisible. This is the AEO Show, the podcast that teaches you how to become the answer in the age of AI. Every episode breaks down what's working right now to get found in a zero-click world. Listen now and join the free forever community at aeo.co/free. And we're back, the AEO Show, AEOpodcast.com. Julian López, the head of research at AEO.co. Dude, we've blown up. What is our membership at right now? Do you know?
Yeah, we're over 700, I think, in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's unreal. So if you're listening to this and you haven't joined the community, it's free. There's no reason not to. You can go to aeo.co/free and there's, we're closing in on, we have 735 members. By the time you hear this, we'll probably be over 1,000 would be my expectation. We've got a great big workshop. At the time of this recording, the workshop is happening next week. When this is published, the workshop will have already happened. So, which means we're going to get everybody from the workshop in the community too. And here's why I'm pushing this. There's no cost to you. There's also no upsell. We have nothing to sell you on the other end. And yet you're still the product. When you join the community, you put us in a position of being able to learn from you. Because if we put everybody who's attempting to crack the code on AEO in a room together, our whole will be greater than the sum of our parts. Because every person's going to figure out something small that we wouldn't necessarily be able to figure out ourselves, even with the team we have. We have a 6-person team that does nothing full-time but try to learn how this is really manifesting in actionable terms. And 6 is less than 735. So for anybody and everybody that is, I don't care if you're a business owner or an agency owner, or you want to be my competitor, like other AEO folks, come on in and let's all talk and collaborate. And there's no iron curtain yet, which is part of what I want to talk about today. And it just has to do with innovation. But if you're not in the community, go to aeo.co/free, introduce yourself, participate, do the things that are supposed to be done inside of communities. We're pretty aggressive in getting rid of the spammers. And anything you'd add to that, Julian? Do you want to offer some of the perks that we've provided in the community so far?
Of course. Well, our promise with the community is that we are not going to hold anything back as part of the free offering. Like all of the research that we have done, we got a 290 pages book already on Amazon rolling out. So this is real. This is a real thing. We have been really putting the effort into figuring this thing out, but it's going to be much better. This is like an open source effort that we all get to chip in. We all get to learn and get there faster. That's kind of the thing that we have learned on watching how AI is developing. Even private corporations with their massive resources cannot outpace the open source efforts. I like sharing this information that is just being developed in real time is going to be the bigger value for everyone. So yeah, I will advise you guys cannot miss it. We are doing requests. So we are tracking queries. We are analyzing your websites, trying to help you guys get into the flow of what the future of discovery is going to be after AI. So yeah, just hop in.
Yeah, just hop in. That's exactly right. Hop in, get started. I forgot all about the book, dude. What a stupid thing for me to forget. The AEO Blueprint, which is, I think, the most comprehensive guide to AEO that currently exists. The disclaimer I'll make is it was outdated the day we published it because that's how fast things are moving. And yet it's still the best and most quintessential guide to this practice, the practice of optimizing your digital presence for answer engines like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, etc. Go get the AEO Blueprint on Amazon. It's $2 for the Kindle version. It's $1.99 because that's the cheapest Amazon will let us price it at. And we made it that way because we're not trying to make money publishing books. We want to bring people into our sandpit. So go get the book, share the book. I think they can have the book for free on PDF too, right? How do they do that? Is that in the community?
Exactly. Once they join the community, they get a message from me and they will just get the ebook right there in their hands. So yeah, I think it's worth mentioning that, well, a book is an exercise on thinking, because a summary version of a bigger research. So what they are getting there is just like time-saving resource for them to get right into what we are trying to build here.
Yeah, I think time savings is exactly right. If, well, I've always said this, dude, a book, if you really think about it, it's an extraordinary, like somebody took Ray Dalio's Principles. Have you ever read Principles?
No, not yet.
It's amazing. First of all, if a billionaire ever writes a book, you have to read it. That's a rule. And Ray Dalio spent his entire life crafting these ultra granular principles. And it's almost like he turned himself into a piece of software. It's all if this, then that, except when. Hold on, I have it here on my bookshelf somewhere. I found it. So here's Principles by Ray Dalio. And you can tell my copy's beat all to hell because I keep reading it. And he has it split into two sections. One's work principles and one's personal principles or life principles. And the detail with which he goes and thinks is just, it's just mind-blowing. And the reason I'm like, look, this is what's really funny is if you're listening to this, you're not going to be able to see, but I'm going to try to hold up the book so you can kind of, I mean, the book is so thick. And then he's written what
Wow.
amounts to if this, then that, except when rules engines. So I'm just reading one at random. Manages someone operating a machine to achieve a goal. This is principle number 10. 10.1, look down on your machine and yourself within it from the higher level. 10.1a, constantly compare your outcomes to your goals. B, understand that a great manager is essentially an organizational leader, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the most successful hedge fund managers in the world, one of the wealthiest men on the planet who's ever lived and existed, wrote a book, spent his entire life distilling this rules engine, and then gave it to us. And I think I got the book for $20. This is the most leverageable activity available to humanity so far. AI is probably going to outpace that. And we just did that too. And when I say we, I really mean you, Julian, because I don't think did I write a word in that book? Was there anything that I actually put pen to page? I might have wrote the introduction, or maybe I didn't.
Yeah, of course. I bet that you follow Ray Dalio's principles and help me guide me through that process. So
I
yeah,
delegated really well, didn't I? I'm a
exactly.
good, yeah. So Julian wrote the book. I slapped my name on it out of egotism and so I can get podcast interviews. But Julian did a truly extraordinary job. And the thing is not, y'all, this isn't just like fluff. This is truly, it's dense, it's technical. To be honest with you, it's going to be over most of your heads if we're being real. But it's, for anybody that wants to do a deep dive, go get the book. The book is free at our community. If you want to help us, go to Amazon, download the book, buy the book, and then write us a review. And people always say, write us an honest review. I'm going to say, write us a good review. That's really
That's a
what I
better
want.
prompt. I
Yeah.
agree.
I'll go prompt a good review. All right, that's enough shameless self-promotion. I wanted to talk about two things today. The first thing I want to talk about is such a perfect segue to the second thing. The first thing is the death of Reddit. 30 days ago, you and I were banging the Reddit drum. I've been at 4 different events now, massive events. I was at Growth Hacking, which is, I think, going to be the largest marketing conference in the world. I was at Joe Polish's 100K Mastermind. I was at my mastermind talking about AEO. And when people say, well, what do we do? One of the 3 things I've told everybody to do is go crack the Reddit code. Reddit's the most important website on the internet. 1 out of 5 Google AI-driven citations come from Reddit, blah, 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 blah. And then we wake up one morning and what happened?
Well, it seems like they just, with the switch of a button, Reddit just most likely disappeared. Like 10x reduction on citations on ChatGPT alone, which is kind of the bigger answer engine, the one that we are following the closest. So that's an interesting thing, and that's something that we have already called that will happen. Like they are just moving so fast that they can change the prompt, the internal instructions on their models or the platform, or do a different adjustment or a partnership or anything, and everything can change. So that's today. Maybe tomorrow they are going to be doing something different. Like Reddit already is trying to get into try to become an answer engine itself. It doesn't work as good as you expect, but they have the landing page for that.
Why do you think it doesn't work as good as we would expect?
Well, it wasn't like the best experience. It's not like the faster experience. I just, for example, I'm too bullish on Perplexity. Perplexity is really fast and it gives you like the exact thing that you're looking for. And when you are trying to get that on this new platform or in Reddit, just the user experience changed you. Like to get a user to stick with a service or something, it takes more than just the features and functionalities. The experience has to be something else. So I think they are not there yet.
Yeah, and actually, this might be the first time I've ever heard you say the words "I'm bullish on Perplexity." Why are you bullish on Perplexity?
Well, because they have been leading the pack, even that they don't have an own LLM. They don't own anything. Like they are a wrapper, and they call themselves a wrapper just to tease people out, because they are seeing that if you don't have a model, you don't cannot call yourself an AI company. But the fact that they beat Google to the punch, like creating the proper AI answer engine on their own with their limited resources, it's a good signal that these guys are really playing ahead. They also beat ChatGPT on the agentic browser. They launched that like 2 months ago, and just yesterday, ChatGPT launched Atlas, I think,
Yeah.
which is their own agentic browser, which I wasn't very excited, and I have seen like Twitter being kind of underwhelmed with it. So yeah, Perplexity is kind of one step ahead of these big companies, and that's what you can expect of a smaller team with a smart founder. So that's why I'm bullish on them. So I don't know what will happen after, but I really stand by their products. I like the experiences. They really care about the results, and they are really creative so far. So yeah, that's kind of my analysis on Perplexity.
That's really interesting, dude. I've always thought Perplexity was something of a really just a skin or a window. You know, ChatGPT feels like its own thing, Gemini feels like its own thing, Claude feels like its own thing, and Perplexity has felt like somebody used Zapier and a UI to just piece a lot of stuff together. Am I off base there?
But they did it really well. Yeah, that's the point. That's the point. So you will know, like, I think the most technical nerd people are mostly on Perplexity. The I will say that if they change their name, they will have more users, just because it's so complex to repeat out loud for most people.
What a brilliant point that is. If they changed their name, they'd have more users.
Yeah, I've been on branding a lot of years, so I understand that every decision, everything that you put your brand to, is going to impact your long term results. So just the name, like the thing that the first investor on Google told them is that they had to change their name to Google, and that
What was their
was
name originally?
I don't recall exactly, but it was in Google. So that's the most important decision from that perspective. They have the Google It. Their brand has become
A verb.
um a verb, exactly. So you do this thing. You are always mentioning that. So you own the space in a way. So that's kind of the weaker goal point in Perplexity's offering. I think, like, just making it so complex, it doesn't allow for new users to adapt to it, to even repeat it to somebody else or recommend it. So yeah, that's an interesting point there.
I listened to an interview with Morgan Freeman. Have you ever seen Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah, of course.
So it's the highest rated film of all time in IMDb, which is,
Wow.
I think, the more caustic of all the film. You know, there's Rotten Tomatoes and a bunch of other ones, but IMDb is the hardest one to rank high in. And Shawshank Redemption is the highest rated film, but it was a box office bomb. And they talked to Morgan Freeman about why, and he's like, "Dude, nobody could say it. He's like, nobody could say this name. You know, you couldn't even tell your friends. Like, I went and watched this film, and it was the Chuchab Madudu. Like nobody knew. So it sounds like such a silly thing,
Yeah.
and it's an extraordinary observation, I think, from you. I think you're right. I think Perplexity is poorly branded. Dude, you know what's funny? I think ChatGPT is poorly branded.
Exactly, but they were the first one, so
Yeah,
you don't have anything to compare it to. You can say only chat, and people are calling that chat. I saw a funny
you're
TEDx.
right. People are calling it chat.
Yeah, exactly. So I saw a funny TEDx talk where some marketing lead was talking about the time that his mother was always talking about the things that they were being recommended. That I saw that brand recommended that to me. Yeah, chat likes that. Chat, whatever. And he just stopped her on the tracks and said, "Who is this chat guy?" And he said, "Chat GPT." So it's just funny to have that happen, like this thing being recommending you things that you ask him about. It makes it almost like an entity on your life. It's
Yeah.
something just mind-blowing.
Well, and it goes to show you how a really extraordinary product can change the fact that ChatGPT was basically able to step up and own the word chat. You know, like they dwarfed the industry to a degree that allowed them to take that from us, you know? And now like you can't it's confusing almost.
And
I think that's
I have some gossip around that I saw on the My First Million podcast, that is like the HubSpot founder sold the chat.com domain to some old man for 20 something million dollars and a couple
Really?
of stock. Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. I saw that episode, and you can go right there. You can click just chat.com and it will lead you to ChatGPT.
$20 million in HubSpot stock.
Wow.
That's interesting. I'm very short on HubSpot. I don't know how or why HubSpot still exists, to be honest with you. Which I guess is maybe a different podcast and a different episode.
Yeah.
I have a drum to beat. Can I beat my drum with you?
Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to try to figure I'm going to do this really poorly, Julian. I'm not good at this. And so what I'd love for you to do is protect our listeners from me and then ask questions and bring about guardrails, okay? The first thing I'm going to do is share my screen. So if you're listening to this, I'm going to do my best to describe it. And if you're watching on YouTube, it'll make more sense to you. And for anybody that doesn't know, we have a YouTube channel where we can visualize things, which I think is going to be really helpful for AEO. So this is what I think the framework for innovation generally looks like. You're looking at a timeline right now. From left to right is the start to the finish. And I'm going to slowly reveal each element in the timeline. So anytime something new emerges in any organic ecosystem, it's messy. It's not at all
Defined.
defined. Thank you. Yeah, it's opaque and it's
Mhm.
and it's sharp and it's difficult to get your hands around, and you couldn't copy it or clone it. And so the image that we're looking at right now is just like a random scribbly starburst. So anything new, from the automobile to the printing press to AI, even new processes, new procedures, new approaches, new innovations in psychological literature and research. Like it doesn't matter how ethereal or ephemeral it is. All new things are messy. They're scribbles. They're like barely a thing unto themselves. And as we attach words to them, they sort of begin to take shape. But they're not what you can consider to be a commodity by any means, right? They're complex. And the degree of complexity is so high that it takes not just an expert, it takes an innovator, it takes an inventor, it takes somebody who can think in a way that no other human has ever been primed to think, to even begin to understand it. At this stage of innovation, most people, myself included, are not accessible to the thing. They couldn't even begin to understand it if you wanted to offer it to them. It'd be like trying to teach an ant calculus, right? Like it's just not there. So, and a lot of innovation, by the way, dies here because this is the hardest. It's the most expensive. It's where all the money is spent and none of the money is made. That might be the most important point. Like this is the worst part of the entire process from a monetization perspective. It's actually the best part of the entire process if you're an inventor. So this depends on the lens through which we're looking at things. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm not an inventor. So this is the part of the process that scares me and I stay away from. There's the fun saying, pioneers get shot, settlers prosper. This is
That's
where
a great.
pioneers go to get shot. So
Yeah.
how did I do explaining to that, Julian? Anything you'd
Yeah,
add?
it's kind of the greatest theoretical explanation, and I would love to bring it back to AI. So if we kind of think on the AI's timeline, we will think that like maybe 2 or 3 years that ChatGPT was launched, but that's not the start of AI. AI started really way back, and I have heard Perry said some crazy things about like being 100 years old or something like that. So he really does know a lot more than that. But Google's algorithm is famously like AI driven in a way. So AI has been here a more time that we know of. But yeah, as you mentioned, this is like this energy or technology that nobody else has access, like to even understand. Like right now, I will say that most people don't understand AI, and that's something that I'm working towards. I'm looking to give people the most accessible course on our community to get started on like understanding why AI is different from other technologies and how you can use it for your business. You don't have to understand the inner workings, but you have to understand the limits and some of the features. So yeah, I think this innovation framework explained with AI what's happening is kind of a great way to anchor it to something that we are just experiencing.
And you said two things I want to double click on. The first one is it's been happening way longer than anybody's allowing for. People are like, oh, ChatGPT launched in 2020. No, like they've been trying to crack this code for maybe longer than we've had computers. And then the second thing you said that I really loved, and I think this is true for all things, is you don't need to understand its inner workings. You do need to understand its limits. That's true for everything. It's true for a lawnmower and a pistol and a power drill and a hammer. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
everything in our life. You don't actually have to understand how a lawnmower works. You do need to understand the limits of that lawnmower, though. Otherwise you're going to chop off a foot. So really brilliantly stated. So now that we've established where innovation begins, this is where all new ideas start. What begins to happen once an idea takes shape, and the shape is ugly and it's sharp and it's hard to put your hands around. You have people step in. And this, by the way, this first phase is the inventor phase. This is like, the Edisons and the Teslas and the Einsteins and just people that can think the way that most of humanity can't think. Once that person has posited the idea, a new type of human steps in who's still very, very, very unique. And that person begins to give the new innovation a more concrete shape. So now what we're looking at, the image that we're looking at in the second part of this sequence is a star, but it's not a simple star. It's a six-sided star. It's still complex. It's still sharp. It's hard to draw. It's hard to conceptualize. It still takes expertise. It takes intelligence. It takes education. It takes training, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a more clear shape. You can look at it and know what it is. So like the first little scribbly line thing, you can look at it and you don't even know what it is unless you're in the industry. We're now in a place where even though it's still complex, the complexity is diminished to a degree that allows most people who this would be relevant to begin to understand at least what it is. Like you said, you don't have to know the inner workings. You don't have to know its limitations. And so I can go to Home Depot and I can tell you what most of the tools are, kind of. I don't know how I'd use them. You know what I mean? But they've taken shape enough to where they can be on a shelf and put me in a position where I could maybe point at that and say, this is the way that I would use that. How did I do explaining this second phase?
Yeah, it's an interesting way. Like the more the time advances and the more people step into these technologies and try to find use cases, I think that will be the thing. So we discover fire. At first it will burn us and we will run away from it, and then people will get closer and closer with a piece of steak and discover some interesting things.
Such a beautiful analogy, dude. That's so funny. So the messy star is like we've discovered fire and it's burning us. Exactly. And now like the cleaner star is we're starting to kind of think like, well, wait a minute now. That thing was warm and I was cold. I wonder if there's not an opportunity here. This stage is where you move from inventor to engineer. So the first phase is the inventor phase. The second phase is the engineering phase. You still need to be wicked smart. You need to know what you're doing. You need to have some pedigree. You probably need to have some time, effort, energy, and money. This is still not a financially viable stage, by the way. This might be where private equity comes in and does angel investing. And they call it angel investing because it usually fails. But there's no guarantee of return here from an entrepreneurial perspective. That's phase 2 of innovation. Phase 3 of innovation, what is this, a hexagon? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Pentagon.
Pentagon. Yeah, pentagon is 5. Thank you. So what I have shown here is a pentagon. So we've moved from scribbly line that makes no damn sense, which is the inventor phase, to the multi-sided star that's still harder to draw but kind of easier to understand, which is the engineering phase. And now we're in our pentagon. So you're looking at a 5-sided polygon, which again isn't like, try drawing a pentagon, dude. Like it's not the hardest thing you've ever done, but you're never going to get it right. Yeah. So this is the phase at which the early adopters can begin coming in and participating. You're not an inventor. You're not an engineer. You're just kind of a over-eager consumer who's like, wait a minute, I think I can play with that damn thing. And this is the first phase at which monetization becomes possible. And the monetization is typically arbitrage. Typically, it has nothing to do with creation. It has to do with just helping other people access the thing. I'm a little bit smarter than you, and you're a plumber, or you're a doctor, or you're a something else, and I'm a guy that knows AI. And when I say knows AI, I don't really know AI, right? Because I'm not the inventor of it. I'm not the engineer of it. I've spent more time in my basement than you have playing with AI. And I can make money bridging that gap. That's this phase. And so what would we call this phase, Julian? If the first phase is the inventor phase, the second phase is the engineering phase, the third phase might actually be the arbitrage phase. What do you think? The implementer phase. That's what it is. It's where you need to pay for an implementer. So it's not simple enough for you to implement yourself, but somebody else can implement it for you. And this is the thing that's really fun is This is where everybody can begin to see what the shape really is.
Mm,
Everybody in the world looks at it and be like, "Oh, that's AI." And I
yeah.
know what AI, I don't know how to use it, but that's AI. And now I can play,
Mm,
I can pay an implementer to assist me. This is the first phase that monetization is available and accessible to most of us. Phase 3. Phase 4, and if you're watching this, you can see where this is going, is just a square. And and a square is easy to draw. And phase 4 basically says just about anybody who wants to sit down and learn this can learn this. This
mhm,
might be, website design is such a beautiful example of this entire process up to this point. Like a website design in 1992, dude, was this ugly ass starburst thing that nobody even understood, and you had to figure out and really, really be ahead of the curve on. And
yeah.
then it began to get more and more accessible. And now, and actually, website design has gotten so far that I'll use it for the remainder of this innovation timeline. But at the point that we're at now, this stage for the square, this is when it is a commodity. It's
Mhm,
it's a commodity, and this is when things start popping up like a content management system, and you can actually copy and paste, and it
mm,
becomes easier. And you no longer need an implementer. You just need a little education, right?
yeah.
You don't need another person. You just need a little education. Now, some people still pay for the implementer, but the value of the implementer decreases
Mhm,
significantly.
yeah.
So at our stage 3, the implementation stage, you need an implementer. It's just there's really no other option.
Mm,
At stage 4, the commodity stage, the implementer is still valuable, but not nearly as much. And just about anybody can become an implementer. This is when you see the gold rush. And this
mhm.
is, this stage because people start selling certifications. They're like, you can get website certified, graphic design certified, content
Yeah.
certified, AI, like all the certifications. And that's this stage is where pretty much, forgive me for the pejorative, but any dummy can step in and grapple with whatever it is we're talking about. That's the stage. This is the 4th stage. This is the
Yeah,
commodity.
I think a good point to make here or to highlight is that this seems also like the moment where this technology is no longer an option. Like when most people can get into it is not an advantage, but rather the new standard, maybe.
Wow, what a beautiful point that is. You actually, at this stage, up until this point, you've been an early adopter. At this
Mm,
stage, you're actually now either late or at least
at
it's
risk.
yeah, at risk. That's the exact right way to say that. Yeah,
Yeah,
later at risk. Okay. I really like that a lot. And you know what that does? It's a perfect segue for stage 5. So just to recap, especially for the listeners. First stage, the invention stage, ugly shape that doesn't make any damn sense. Second stage, the engineering stage, shape that makes sense but still difficult. Third stage, which we called our implementer stage,
exactly.
is a hexagon that is accessible to anybody who wants to spend time with it. Our 4th stage, which what do we call our 4th stage?
The commoditization stage.
Commodity stage. This is where you now are at risk if you don't adopt. This is the first stage at which we've moved from early adopter to at least this is the best practice. Our 5th stage, if you're not there yet, you're the late adopter. And the 5th stage is just a circle. There are no sharp edges. There's nothing hard about this at all. If you're not doing this, you're stupid, you're lazy, you're behind. You know what I mean? Like you actually don't deserve to participate in this ecosystem anymore, basically. These are like the standards, the necessaries, the prerequisites.
Mm,
It's a carpenter who hasn't gone through his apprenticeship effectively. It's
mhm,
like this is now the necessary prerequisite, the foundational requirement. It still requires some work, but
yeah.
the work is it's an a priori, right? So what would we call this stage? This is if this is the commodity stage, this would be like the
I don't know, a new standard or whatever, something else.
standardization stage. Yeah, I like that a lot. And if you're listening to this and you have ideas for us, come join our community and yell at us about how bad we are at naming things. Julian, by the way, is one of my favorite people to talk to about new ideas because he's really, really good at naming something. And if you can name it, you can own it. So the 5th stage is and from a monetization perspective, let's back up. This is where it gets really interesting. Stage 1, zero monetization opportunity, except the idea that you own the IP and you're the first mover. But even those people generally get nuked. Stage 2, the monetization opportunity increases now to angel investor status. Stage 3 is where real monetization begins to take place if you're an implementer. If you own the IP, this is where you make your billions of dollars, but that's 1 in 1,000. Stage 4 is now the standard. So the monetization opportunity, stage 3 is the peak of the bell curve. The implementers get to
Mhm,
make all their money at stage 3, and then stage 4 it starts to drop off, and the implementers become educators. And then
mhm,
stage 5 is we've moved beyond commoditization into something like um, standardization where
Mhm.
everybody has to have it, and you have things that are so templated and so easy to deploy that they cost you almost nothing in terms of time and money, which leads me to stage 6. Stage 6 is what I'll call ubiquity. It's
Wow.
where stage 6 is just a straight line. It's not even a dimensional shape. You almost can't even see it. And this is where it's so readily available. And this is the thing that people don't understand, Julian. It's not that it's not valuable. It could actually be infinitely valuable, but it's ubiquitously available. So it's something that becomes this available is still massively valuable, but no longer monetizable. And we have
Mhm.
a hard time grappling with that, especially in capitalistic societies.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like Wikipedia is extraordinarily valuable, but it's free,
Mm.
right? Like that information, and we've gotten here with info. All of the, and God forgive me for saying this because these are a lot of my friends, info marketers, course creators, all those people, AI has ruined their lives. They don't exist any longer. We're here. Is the information not valuable? No, it's massively valuable. But I can go to ChatGPT and ask it for whatever I want, and it'll give me something way better, way faster, way easier, and more contextually appropriate to me than any info marketer could ever build a course for. This is the framework for innovation. Now, I'm going to blow your mind, I hope, because this is actually the framework for innovation pre-AI.
Mm.
Pre-AI. So stage 1, the invention stage, it's really hard. Stage 2 is the engineering stage. It's hard but accessible to people with specialized knowledge. Stage 3 is the implementation stage. It's hard but available to people that want to put in the time, effort, and energy. This is the arbitrage stage. Stage 4 is the commodity stage, where it's accessible to anybody with a little bit of education. Stage 5 is the standardization stage, where it's just accessible to everybody and it takes a little time and a little money. And stage 6 is ubiquity stage, right? It's just like this is available to everybody and anybody can do it. This is, and if you want the perfect example, it's website development. We started with websites being really hard, and then we flash forward now to where you and I could build a website right now in about 6 seconds with a prompt, and it's free. Like that's
Yeah.
insane. That's insane. Now, are there still people making money building websites? Yeah, and not like they were. And I would anticipate that having a fuse. So this is pre-AI. This is the framework for innovation pre-AI. Here's the framework for innovation post-AI. And if you're listening, what I just did is I flashed to a new frame. Stage 1 stays the same. It's the innovations, it's the invention stage, and it's still messy and ugly and all those things. Stage 2 stays the same, although it might be closer in
Mhm.
terms of timeline. It might be truncated, but this
Um,
is the engineering stage. Stage 3, 4, and 5, and I might be hyperbolizing this just a little bit, but they basically happen all at the same time. And this is what AI does. As soon as something becomes simple enough to implement, AI outruns humanity in
mm.
its ability to uh, implement, commoditize, and standardize all of it. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be, a new type of video production, content creation, software development. Like it doesn't matter what it is. You need a human so far, and this might not always be true. You need a human to invent it. You need a human to begin to kind of decide what it is from an encapsulation standpoint and an engineering standpoint. And then as soon as we move into something like the arbitrage phase, the implementation phase, AI goes, oh, got it. And then it instantly puts us into this ubiquity phase. Here's
That
why I've beat this drum to absolute death, right? Like I've kicked this dead horse over and over and over and over again. It's something that you said at the beginning of our call. I don't even think we were recording yet. In the world of AEO, if you wait for us to get to step 3, it's over for you.
mm.
It's not that you don't need to do it. This is what sucks. You still need to do it, but you only need to do it because all your competitors are already doing it and you'll just be left behind. The only thing left to you is risk. If
Mm.
you want to participate in the benefit at all, you have to come join us in stage 2. Now, Julian and I, if for AEO in particular, we're the stage 1 guys. We're the ones taking all the arrows. Yo, I did the math. I'm approaching a 6-figure expenditure in this business. Did you know that, Julian? Have I shared the books
No,
with you
I
yet?
didn't.
Well, in terms of all the software that we've paid for, all the salaries that we've paid for, like I'm closing in on $100,000. And the funny thing about that is I have no monetization model yet. I still have absolutely nothing to sell. The only thing we're doing is reselling search atlas.
Mhm.
So I've taken all the arrows. You've spent a year of your life, like we've spent all the time, effort, and energy on step 1. For my listeners, if you want any benefit at all, you have to come join us in step 2. Come join the community, play the games that we're playing, try the things that we're telling you to try. And here's what sucks. A lot of them are not going to work. A lot of this, the stuff that we're telling you, for example, if you were with us 30 days ago, we were going Reddit, 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 Reddit. And you know what? We were right. If you wanted to do AEO properly, you had to crack the Reddit code. And then the algorithm changed, and all of a sudden Reddit got wiped off the map. And now here's what's really interesting is I don't think that work would be for naught. I bought a bunch of Reddit stock, by the way, because I'm really long on Reddit. I think they're going to come back. But it's going to be frustrating. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. We're going to be wrong as often as we're right. But if you don't play in step 2, there's no benefit to you. There's only risk. If you wait for step 3, 4, and 5 are now all the same damn step, you just get left behind. That's it. So either come do the hard thing with us at this engineering stage and put on your engineering hat and help us crack this code and play this game, or get fucked. You know what I mean? Like, and I say that with love. Like you know what I mean? Like, or just wait for your competitors to outpace you in an instant, because as soon as this becomes available and accessible, it becomes commoditized and ubiquitous, and then it becomes free. And once that happens, there's no monetization opportunity for anybody. So I realized that I kind of took the bulk of our time today, dude. But I appreciate you helping me build guardrails around this. For everybody listening to the podcast, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing. It's amazing that you took the time to define like the longer timeline and just let us know that we are kind of even in a faster timeline right now with AI. So yeah,
well, and this will be this isn't just AEO. This is all industries and all things. AI just is eating the framework for innovation.
Exactly right. So yeah, that's an amazing call to action. Just
all right. Me and Julian have to hop because we have our live community call, which by the way, you're invited to. If you go to aeo.co/free, you can join the community. When you join the community, you get access to the calls where we teach everybody everything that we're learning in real time. This has been Julian López and Kasim Aslam for the AEO Show. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to the AEO Show. Do you want to learn how your brand can become the answer for AI engines like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini? Join our free forever community at aeo.co/free and get access to research, tools, and live discussions that will keep you ahead of what's next. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review, because the future of search is already changed.